Hello, Coach. Before we jump into today's episode, I've got something that you guys do not want to miss out on. It's called Underdog Hoops University. It is now offering a 14-day free trial. That's 2 weeks full of things that you can explore, an entire coaching platform, playbooks, video breakdowns, practice planning, tools, and everything you need to grow your program and sharpen your edge as a coach. If you're serious about coaching and developing athletes, culture, and winning the right way, this is where you need to start. Alright, now let's get into today's episode and unpack the real coaching insights, practice tips, and everything you've come to expect from Underdog Hoops. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Underdog Hoops, presented by great coaches in our basketball community. From the Underdog Hoops studio in Rancho Cucamonga, California, here is your host, Sam Farrar.
All right. So, Coach, can you tell me or share with me your basketball journey and how you got into coaching?
Yeah, so kind of started off when I was young. So I was thinking probably 7, 8, 9, just kind of started playing and fairly quickly developed a love for the game. I think I was surrounded by a lot of the right people who liked the game, who wanted to teach the game, starting at an early age for me. So the game really became more than a game. It became an obsession for me. Played all the way through high school. And I think now, if I look back on it, my high school experience wasn't the best. I come from a small town in northern Mass, so it was a lot of politics driven. And I think one of the things, and it's funny, one of the things that my skill set allowed me to do, I was a really good shooter. I was taught by some of the best shooters I had. And one of my influences too, who got me into coaching, was the old Celtics coach, Chris Ford. Hit the first three-pointer in NBA history. I went to his basketball camps a lot in the summers, taught me how to shoot. And being a good shooter, unfortunately, I think that I kind of stayed on that path of, well, I could shoot, so I can pretty much just rely on that. And I think that hampered my abilities a little bit through high school, but had the mind for the game. And so, that's really what kind of got me into coaching. That's really, I think from an early age, I knew playing the game, I'm limited, but seeing the game, understanding the game is something that I feel like I excelled at an early age. So early on, I knew I'm going to probably be coaching at one level or another.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So what are your core values in your coaching philosophy and how they evolved kind of over the years?
Yeah. So they've changed over the years for sure. When my first real kind of high school coaching experience came, I was actually coaching girls lacrosse. I just fell into it, had to learn the sport. And I think it helped me. I think it was the best path for me because I didn't know the sport at all, had to learn it, and started seeing different things, seeing different patterns. And that helped me develop kind of my philosophies. My number one philosophy is accountability. You need to know if you're having a bad day, and it's cliche, right? Everyone knows it. Every coach is going to say accountability is number one, right? So no surprise there. Accountability is going to always be number one. I want hard work. And my number 3 that I always had, and we used to have a saying, was I wanted hard work, stay focused. So when we're between the lines, we're playing hard. And we're fully focused on what we're doing at that time, whether it's that drill, that possession, whatever. And then my third is my core value is never be satisfied. We can never think that we're the best that we're going to be already. Like, we're not going to get any better. I don't need to get better. It's today was a good day, but let's go a month down the line. Let's make it sure that was the worst day we had. And we just keep getting better. Great. We won the game. That's fantastic. What could we have done to make it easier for ourselves? And so I always wanted the kids to come in and just feel that, hey, that was good, but we can always do better. But at the same time, they understand like, hey, things are going well, or when they're going well. When they're not, and I've been a part of those teams as well. That's a hard one to instill kids.
All right. So who was your biggest coaching influence? I know you kind of talked about the Boston Celtics, but what have you learned from them, or like maybe more people around your circle?
Yeah. So back when I was younger, it was definitely Chris Ford was a big influence. My other coach when I was probably I think it was 7th grade was when I went to play travel league in our town. It was Coach Canty. And he taught us a lot about the game. And it was a little different, I think, the way kids are getting coached now versus how we were getting coached. I mean, this was back in early 2000s, late 99, 2000, right? But there was still that fine line between you were getting your butt kicked and you were hearing it and you were getting chirped in 7th, 8th grade. Whereas I think that really helped. That helped me because my coaching style, how I took feedback was not so much praise and, hey, you did good here, you did good there. It was, here's where you went wrong. But the caveat was, and I've had coaches who are, here's where you went wrong. Okay, so what do I do? He said, here's what went wrong. Here's how we're going to fix it. And this is what it's going to look like. And it's going to suck. It's getting there. You're going to make a ton of mistakes. So I still look at that now. And I always, I'm someone who always wants to know, well, why are we doing what we're doing? And he always gave us the why. And I think that's part of the reason why when I explain to our teams, well, here's what we're doing, but here's the reason behind what we're doing. If you get it, great. If you don't, listen, just ride with it because that's what we're doing. But, Coach Canny was a big influence growing up because he expected a lot out of us at a young age. And I think there was a lot of pressure basketball-wise, right? We were a close team. We were good, but it was a lot of pressure. But at the same time, as you got older, you could handle that.
Yeah. All right. So how do you define success as a coach beyond the wins and losses?
Where did the kids start from day one to where did they start at the end of the season?
Perfect.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. People have different answers for it. It's really interesting to find out what's their sign of success.
Right.
So the next few questions are going to be about team culture.
Sure.
How do you build a strong and positive team culture?
It's tough, right? And I can give an example of how we didn't do it when I was coaching.
Okay.
So I was coaching, I was a JV coach for Amesbury High School girls, and they had just come off a state championship. And the coach left, went to another rival school, and we were brought in. And it was tough. That team, from what we understood, was a very good team, had a very strong culture. Those kids were with that coach, I think, for anywhere between 7 or 8 years. So there were expectations. We came in, and we have to define a culture. We have to build a culture. And year one, it's really, really hard, especially when you're coming into a program that they just won. And now a lot of that core graduated. We got one left over from that class or from that championship. So to build the culture, we had a lot of young kids that saw a lot of success at a young age, but I think I don't want to say the moment got too big for them, but the game got really fast and there were a lot of losses along the way. So when you're losing, it's really hard to build culture. Now this year, we had some winning. We had some good players come up that were used to winning. They knew what to expect. And really, it was that accountability. We had some kids early on that did not want to take accountability. And it was easy just to say, well, it's the coaching. That's what's changed. So it's the coaching. Well, no, we have expectations. We're trying to build the team this way. It's buy-in and communication. And I think the first year, communication for us was a little tough because we didn't know the kids. Second and third year got really much more easier. But to me, in order to build a culture, you got to start with communication, which will then give you trust, which is then give you buy-in. We're on that path now. and we're starting to see it through the success. But it's building the culture it's hard, and it's different now because you have a different team every single year. Our team has turned over 3 times in 3 years, so it's the same expectations from us, but new kids with new expectations on their own. But we try to hold them accountable, but at the same time we tell them, I think the culture starts with, we're holding you accountable, but you got to make sure you hold us accountable.
Yep. Kind of leading off the accountability, what are some strategies that you use to hold your players accountable?
Really, it's just honesty. When I make mistakes, I'll tell them. I have a great example that I have is I had a team early on that I could yell, get after, and they responded. The following year, I had a team that you could not do that. You lost them immediately. And I want to say I lost my way a little bit. I try to toe the line between kind of being that model of, hey, things go wrong, stay stoic, but at the same time, I'm going to let you know when things go wrong, we need to fix it. And perfect example is we were playing my hometown, and I just passionate about it. I wanted that win. We lost. I lost it, and there was a lot of yelling. Came back to practice the next day, said, hey, that's on me. I lost my way. That's not on you guys. And so, we completely changed, and the whole team dynamic changed for probably the last 7 or 8 games of that season. And we started winning. And, but I think it's the high expectations that, we hold these kids to, and we expect them to hold us to as well.
Very good. How do you deal with difficult players? I know it happens
Yeah.
on some teams, and then how, like, if it's a team conflict, whatever it is, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, it's a double-edged sword, because especially usually the players that we had the hardest time with were usually our players that were either our leaders or the ones that essentially held the team up or gave us a chance, right? And like I said, it's a double-edged sword. There were a couple times we had to bench them. And did they respond for a game or two? And then it went right back. There was a point last season we had a player that, and I give a lot of examples through my question, my answers, just because that's kind of how I look at it. But it's we had a player that very intense, and I loved it. Just kind of put it in the wrong places. Get after teammates in a negative fashion, not so much helping, but hey, this is on you. And I never heard, well, no, that might be on you. And it was tough to guide her. And there was a point where sometimes you just realize, I lost them. I need them in there, but we have to keep a short leash. So there's times where we had to keep a short leash. There was times where we had a lot of come to Jesus moments where we're sitting at the circle and we're all just, hey, what's going on? Does anyone, let's hash this all out right now. And so I try to keep it honest. I try to keep it, in-house, and say, what are all our problems? Just throw it out on the table. If you got beef with someone else, let's talk about it. Let's get over it, because I don't want to hear about what you guys got problems outside of school with your teammates. We'll figure that. But when we're here to work. We're here to let all that go within reason. And so it's tough. I mean, we had another player who was the leftover from that championship year that she was a difficult player because she made a comment and it made my blood boil where, hey, I already got my ring. And you're the leader of the team. You're the only senior on the team. And, these kids don't need to hear that. So it was one of those things where, she didn't see it coming. We didn't start her, and that hit her pretty hard. And we got a response out of her because she went off. Probably the last, I think, 11 games of the year, she went off. And so, every player reacts differently. There's no one way to, handle a kid that could be an issue. But, you got to do what's best for the team.
Yeah. You got to kind of take them by situational basis.
Exactly.
I know a team that we played this year that they had this one guy that he dropped 30 against us the first time, and we were just like, he's just putting up everything, and it's going in. And he didn't start, and I kind of got film on him early, and I kind of knew like, okay, he either has a problem where he's argumentative
Mhm.
and like so defensive about him coming out of the game or staying in the game, whatever it is. But he still lit us up
Yep.
in and then the second game, we completely shut him down.
Yep.
And we just ran our matchup zone and we shut him down. And it was just kind of a matchup zone where, hey, we're kind of doing a box and one necessarily, but like our team had to really communicate and say, hey, he's coming over here. Okay.
Yep.
And we kept him to like maybe 10 points, which was, he was frustrated. You could tell
Oh, yeah.
he was just like, and you love that. I'm
Oh,
like,
you love it.
guys, yeah, you feed off that. And my guys fed off that, which was like awesome.
Oh, for sure. We had a girl, and I loved when she said it. And it was at the end of the game, but we played them twice that year. And I just had one of our girls just say, "Hey, you know what? Pressure her." I noticed it at the end of the game. So just pressure her. I want to see what she does. So we're just going to press this one girl, ball hit her off the court. And I didn't expect one of our girls to be as aggressive as she was. And I was like, whoa, we have possibly, she was a freshman at the time, a defensive stopper here. And the girl, my girl came back up to me during the timeout, and she said, "I've got her." And I go, "What do you mean? What happened?" She goes, "She literally just looked at me and said, 'Will you chill out?'" And I said, "We've got her." The next game, I just kept looking at her. Cadence, don't chill out. Don't chill out. And that girl had the hardest time trying to get. We lost the game, unfortunately, because they did have a couple other good players, and we were a young team. But I was going to make sure we don't lose because of her.
Yeah.
And the kids saw it too. Like, hey, you know what? I pay attention to these things. Let's all pay attention to these little minute details, because those are going to be the differences between wins, losses, or at worst, especially when you're a young team, keeping you competitive.
Sometimes all it takes, and I tell my guys this, all it takes is you just like kind of poking them in the rib or something.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that just gets on their nerves. That's it.
That's it. It's
so
easy.
just in between two ribs, that hurts.
Yep.
Okay, now you got them.
Yep, exactly.
So, this is going to be practice and game preparation. How do you structure a typical practice to maximize your time?
Yeah. So we usually had anywhere between 2 and 2.5 hours typically. And I'm someone that, hey, the second that clock hit 3:30 is when we started. We're done talking. We talk at 3:25. We're going at 3:30. And one of the things that we always ran out, I love this drill because I wanted to start teaching these kids that my philosophy really is a fast break team. Become a fast break team as much as you can, and defend on the defensive end, create chaos. So we always started out with 22 and 2, 22 layups in 2 minutes. It was a challenge. We always did what was called the Houston drill, which is just passing from the nail to the wing, just to kind of get warmed up. And there was also some things that we needed to work on every game, because these were some issues that we saw: poor passing, a lot of lob passes early on that were getting picked off, and a lot of kids driven with their head down. And we want to teach them, hey, get your head up, right? There's always someone streaking up the floor. And then we go always, and I'm a huge fan of this. Even now, I coach my 7-year-old daughter's team, and I love doing this, is stations. And the more hoops you have, the better. We had 6 hoops at Amesbury High, and we did something every station, anywhere between 2 and 3 minutes a station, sometimes a little longer. But I always wanted to work on individual stuff at that time. So we probably did, and probably call it 30 minutes of just individual work that I noticed either in a game or two, or, hey, we're just not here, but I need to get them here by whatever game, the 8th game or something. And so we would do stations, whether it was one-on-one stations, some defensive closeout stations, shooting. We did a ton of shooting. ton of ball handling. We would do some decision-making drills with 2 or 3 kids. So I was always big on stations, and then we go right into the team aspects, and it was quick. So we go from stations, and then the whistle blows. Now we're going into what we called UCLA, which was, we ran a zone at the time. So we're going right into a zone, towels over our heads, holding up, and we want to work on feet. We were a very reachy team, and we had to get that out of them. So towels up in the hand, hands up, and we're just working on our feet, while another group of girls is doing shooting or whatever they're doing, or running on the offense, and then we'd switch, and then it would be a water break. And then we're running a lot of just drills, whether it's, at the time, we were running a lot of read and react, which for us was hard at the time early on, because you got to have some IQ, and you need to understand where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and how, if someone makes a move or someone does something that they want to do, or they can take their defender, what are you going to do without the ball? You have to be ready for that. That was tough for them. But we ran that a lot in practice. And then we always dedicated probably 20 minutes to inbounds, sideline out of bounds, baseline, and how to break the press, end of game. We need a quick bucket, 5, 6, 7 seconds left. We got 2 or 3 plays in our back pocket that either we're having a hard time breaking the press early on that we can pull out, or we need a bucket. So practices always kind of seemed not the same, but the structure was always the same. They knew what they were walking into. They just didn't know what drill they were going to do that day. And then it evolved into that first half hour turned into film sessions, where here's what happened last game. Here's what we're going to do to fix that. Let's go to practice.
So what is your biggest mistake that you see coaches make when planning a practice? What do you think?
To me, it's a lot of standing around. And I am someone that I look at it as, I want return on investment. So I want reps. I don't want kids standing around. And I see a lot of prep coaches, and we were one of them. When I was in high school, we were a team that we did a lot of standing around, a lot of talking. Now, I can talk a lot, but in practice, I try to limit what I can say, because I want them working. I want them actually playing basketball. And so I see a lot of standing around. And one of the other things that we did, I get the purpose of them. We did them from time to time, and we had to, but not as a punishment with suicides. When I was in high school, we were a team that, I would say, out of the 2 hours of practice, probably 40 minutes were running suicides or some sort of cardio. And there came a point where one of our leaders of the team was like, "Coach, we're probably the most in shape team in the league. We have to put the ball in the basket at some point. We're great at running up and down the floor, no problem." And that really triggered me. I was like, "Yeah, you're right. Like, all we do is run." And to me, if we're going to run, you're either going to have a basketball in your hand, or you're going to be chasing someone with one. And we would do it. We'd always, at the end too. At the end of practice, would always be 2 or 3 suicides to start the end of practice, and then it would be free throws, or there would be some sort of shooting competition, just to get them a little tired, breathing. But we never did it as punishment. We would do it as kind of a trainer kind of session before we went into a drill or something. But to me, I want them playing basketball. And there's a lot of coaches that I see, a lot of kids just standing around. They're either talking or they're just not getting reps. And I want as many reps as possible.
Yeah, I see a lot of coaches struggle with that. In kind of my experience of watching practices that aren't mine, and I even struggle with it too at sometimes, because it's just like, you want to do something. But one thing that I found this year is I make them score. So it doesn't matter like 2s or 3s, but I'll have 2 teams. Okay, you guys got to go and score 2 buckets. Fastest who can is gonna shoot a free throw at the end of it, and then we we do run, or my guys run, but it's usually just like, hey, you got to make the free throw, and
Yeah.
then we don't run.
Right.
And then if you lose, you kind of I incentive it with that, but it's only for that usually. It's
Right.
usually just up and back. Hey, let's get back to it. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. The only time, I mean, I can only think in the years that I've been at least at Amesbury, 2 or 3 times where I had to make them run as a punishment because they just weren't paying attention. Or I was explaining something and then I get the look of, what are we doing? Well, this is hard work, stay focused, never be satisfied. Well, you're not working hard, you're not focused, you seem satisfied. That's when you go on the line. But I noticed, so one of my good friends, he this past season was on the coaching staff for Boston College men's basketball, and I had the privilege of being able to go to a handful of their practices and just sit there, take notes. And the one thing that I did notice was there is literally no downtime. There is no doubt. I mean, they don't even do water breaks. It's, hey, individual water breaks when you get a second. And so I looked at that this year and I said, I got to model my practices. This is what I've been trying to get to. This is my idea. This was the idea I had. I just needed to see it in action. And we noticed once we started putting that in place, that structured, that timely mannered thing, we saw the return on investment.
Very good. How do you approach game preparation and scouting opponents?
Yeah, it's a lot of video. It's a lot of video. So, like I said, I love the beginning of the season before games because you don't have to scout really. It's just a lot of what we're doing, right? Once you start seeing teams that you're going to see again, it's a lot of film. It's a lot of hey, you're going to see this. You're going to see so and so in 2 weeks. This is what they're going to do. Well, this girl does it even better, or what have you. So we do a lot of film, and we just try to do a lot of decision making of this is the offense or defense they run. Here's what we're looking to do, and it's just rep it over and over and over again and then create what I say chaos sessions, which is we blast the music, we're screaming at the kids like it's drill sergeant, and they understand too. They got the understanding of, oh, we're not yelling at you just to yell at you. Like, we're not yelling at you at all. We're just trying to create noise and chaos and get your attention and make you get distracted, stay focused. Know what you're supposed to do, know what your responsibility is. And so we would always try to rep those things. But for us, it was always, we had huddle. We used it as much as we could. And we would break it down. We would do sessions on Zoom on a rainy day, or we had snow days here, and we had a lot of them where, hey, we can't get to practice today. Everyone's getting on Zoom, and we're just going to rep huddle. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to answer so many questions, and then we're going to go do it in practice tomorrow. So we always, and then we would also too, before practice, try to look at what we're doing. Here's what we did. Here's where we went wrong. Hey, here were some great plays. Here's where you executed. Look, this is always going to be open. And if it's not, well, then this is. And even for me, we never, in high school, we never did a lot of film. It was just a lot of, this is what happened, go fix it.
Yep.
With these kids, they have so many tools now that I look back on it. If I had those, if I had Huddle, if I had YouTube and Instagram, my game would have been completely different. But a lot of it was so much film preparation, understanding your opponent. And as the kids got older and as they understood our expectations, they got better at seeing what they needed to see to execute.
Yeah, I know that I had kids come up to me after and are like, well, they don't see it in the game, but they got to see it on the film.
Right.
And that's like, okay, you see it now. Now there were a few kids that were like so stubborn that they'd be like, no, I don't see it. But a lot of them were like, okay, yeah, my bad, coach. I'll fix it in practice, and which is good. But
there were a lot of things too where we had one girl too, and it's funny. I've coached boys and girls are always a little different than boys, and vice versa. But it was funny. Like, we had one girl who the talent was there. It was just it was a little bit of the confidence and the caring. She kind of knew that, hey, I could probably be good, but I'm just here. I don't care. And I caught her one day. I just kept it in the back of my mind during the game. I saw it, and I was going to put her in the game, and just the way she was, cross-legged, hands, head in the hands, just not engaging, and things were going well with us, and just not engaging. And I thought to myself, I'm not putting her in, but I made a note in my head, look at the huddle on this and show it to her. So I just pulled her aside, and I was like, how engaged are you in games? And I let her say, I'm engaged, da-da-da. I said, well, what's going on here? This isn't the first time I've seen this. And it's not lying. It's there. So what's up? And then they become more engaged because now if anything, she knows, hey, well, Big Brother's watching me now. And I want kids that are engaged. And, I want kids that you might have not seen the floor for 3 or 4 games, but you were there. You were the number one cheerleader, because that, to me too, you know what? I need that energy. I might need that energy in a game. I'm going to put you out there just because, for anything, I might need that chaos you can bring.
Yeah, he had an energy bunny this year, and I had he was just like, go, 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 go.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, there's certain times where I need that. And then I had a kid that would be very upset if he didn't get in the game, and I'd be like, well, sometimes your body language is terrible on the bench.
exactly.
And it's not necessarily I'm not looking for it because I'm focused on the game, but my assistants are.
Yes.
And that's what I tell my assistants. Hey, let me know. Tell me if someone is not engaged, because then I can tell them, hey, you aren't engaged. You need to be engaged. And how I do that really is just, hey, when we're on defense, you got to be cheering on them. We're chanting defense,
Exactly.
and we're keeping them engaged. So this year, amazing job doing that with my guys. Last few years, it was a little more hard for them to do that. So I think into this year, I've figured out, okay, the engagement by doing that is really special, and it kind of creates that culture.
It starts at a young age too, I think, that part, because one of the things I noticed too is a lot of the girls that we had, and they were a good portion of them came out of that AAU culture. They were playing AAU, and you could always tell there was maybe a conflict of, well, what's my real team? Is it my high school team or is it my AAU team? Which team am I truly loyal to? And so to me, it starts at a young age, because like I said, I coach my 7-year-olds team. I have them defense on the sideline cheering for when their teammates score. And now genuinely it turned into, they really are looking for their team to do well, opposed to now me even having to say anything. Whereas, especially when they get older, I have to tell them. And if I have to tell them, now it's not going to be genuine anymore. And, the whole AAU thing too with high school gets me going.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not, it's a lot of AAU is just rolling out the basketball and letting them go. And it's
That's it.
you need to actually, and they collect money. Here, give me your money.
Yep.
Okay. Roll out the basketball. And then parents think that it's going to be more beneficial for them. And I'm like, not really.
Not really. We have one girl especially that it hurt. I think it hurt her more than anything, because the skill level was there. Great ball handler, but was afraid to take contact. And then we had her AAU coach come to a couple of our games, and as an assistant coach, I'm paying attention to everything that's going around. I'm paying attention to what some parents' reactions are. And one of the things I started to notice was mom was taking videos only when she had the ball. The coach, the AAU coach, and his daughter, who's played for the team as well, for the AAU team, she's looking at them more than now they're starting to look at us. And right there, it became striking to me of they're telling her how to play, but the way she plays is not going to help us. So when we take her out of the game, I mean, this is someone too who it's hard to get through to some of these kids. Hey, hey, I take you out. You're struggling from 3 or whatever. I'm going to put you back in. I don't want to go back in. And we had that. And that's happened more than once. And to me, that's the AAU because she wasn't used to that adversity. She was used to just, again, roll the ball out, roll her out, let's go. And she's going to go do her thing. But for us, we can't let you just do your thing. I got 11 other girls that need to do their thing too, and we need to do it together. So yeah, to me, the war of AAU and high school basketball is the real one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I I see great coaches that, hey, I know what they're gonna do in their AAU program. Um just because we host a bunch of stuff for AAU,
Mm,
like in our off season. So it's interesting because I get to watch a lot of coaches do their thing. I see a lot of coaches with different philosophies.
yep.
But you get the people that want to just roll the ball out and like I know a little basketball. Okay. Um
As long as the check
and
clears.
yeah, as long as the check clears, they're good.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they won't come after you.
Yeah, exactly.
um
Hello, Coach. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Underdog Hoops podcast. If you found this information valuable, the conversation, and I know you did, make sure to check out Underdog Hoops University. You can start a 14-day free trial and get access to everything from detailed playbooks to video breakdowns to practice planning tools, whether you're coaching youth, high school, or any other coaching, AAU, whatever. This platform is built for you to grow. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with another coach who's on the grind just like you are. Until next time, we hope that you keep growing and keep leading.